Welcome to the Packer Mentality Podcast, where I try to keep you up to date and shed a little light on what is happening on and off the field with the Packers. To my loyal listeners and viewers, thank you for your continued support and engagement. Your participation has been instrumental to the growth of this channel. If you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe, leave your comments, and connect with me on social media at Packer Mentality. Remember, you can catch this podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms. Some news for everyone from the past few days. Three Packers had their contracts hit their void date and became free agents. Darnell Savage, Keyshawn Nixon, and Yash Nyman. This was part of their contracts. It also means that the Packers incurred about $10 million in dead cap space for 2024. It's still possible that one or more of these guys could be back. But since the Packers could have negotiated extension with these guys to help avoid that cap hit, my assumption is that they will not be back with the Packers. And I do wish those guys good luck. Also, some positive news was reported this week. Jordan Love is working out with Drew Brees. This is incredible. If there was one thing I didn't know I wanted to see this week, this was it. Drew Brees is only a couple years removed from his last games in the NFL. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Jordan Love, go be a sponge. Listen and learn from Drew. You learn from Rodgers. No better QB to learn from after that than Drew Brees, unless Tom Brady is available. Love isn't the only guy already working on his game. I saw an Instagram post of Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks video. They're working out already. Looked like they were doing footwork and route running drills. That is a good segue into talking about the Packers wide receivers and what they can or should do at that position for 2024. Going into last season, the Packers, or the previous two off seasons, had completely rebuilt the receiving core. They had traded Devontae Adams to Las Vegas and let everyone else that had been on their roster in 2021 let them walk. Goodbye, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Goodbye, Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb. Other than Devontae Adams, I don't think we missed any of those guys in 2023. Those guys in 2023, here's what they did. Marcus Valdez-Scantling, 21 receptions, one touchdown. Lazard, 23 receptions, one touchdown. Cobb, just 5 receptions, one touchdown. And Lazard and Cobb, both those guys were inactive, healthy scratches for games over the past year. Devontae Adams was great as usual. 103 receptions, over 1,100 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Total for those 4 guys, remember these numbers: 152 receptions, 1,809 yards, 11 touchdowns. Now, the 2023 Packers wide receivers, the top 4: 64 receptions for Jaden Reed, 793 yards, 8 touchdowns receiving, 3 rushing touchdowns. Dontavian Wicks, 39 receptions, 581 yards, 4 touchdowns. Romeo Dobbs, 59 receptions, 670 yards, 8 touchdowns. Christian Watson, 28 receptions, 422 yards, 5 touchdowns. And he missed a good portion of the year. Those 4 guys, 190 receptions, 2,470 yards, and 25 receiving touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. And we didn't even talk about Malik Heath or Bo Melton, both of whom stepped up big when they got their opportunities. Speaking of Melton and Heath, those 2 guys, 31 total catches and a couple touchdowns. Those are your top 6 wide receivers for the Packers, all of whom were in their first or second season in the NFL, and all of them are under contract for 2024. Also under contract would be Samari Torrey, who also just finished his second season, and Grant Dubose, who was a rookie 7th round pick, but he spent most of the season on the practice squad. I do think he might have gotten called up for 1 game during the season. Are any of these guys getting cut? Well, Not Christian Watson, not Romeo Dobbs, not Jaden Reed, not Dontavian Wicks. Also, likely safe if I'm making the decisions would be Bo Melton and probably Malik Heath. The one guy who could be cut or traded, Samari Torrey, who, despite being in his second season, had the opportunity to step into a larger role, but just didn't happen for him. Grant DuBose probably sticks around with a chance to compete since he missed most of his rookie season with an injury, or the offseason with an injury. Are they likely to bring in a guy in free agency? Highly doubt it. Could they draft someone? Well, he'd have to be a guy who could make a difference, or it's just not worth spending the draft capital. Packers do also need to consider their roster in a year or two. At that point, they're going to have to make decisions on Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs. Those contracts would be coming up for renewal. And a year after that decision, they'll have to make decisions on Reed, Wicks, and the two tight ends, Musgrave and Kraft. That's a lot of guys needing contracts. And because of that, it's not likely all of them are going to stick around. Adding another guy this offseason isn't a terrible idea. If one of the top receivers were to drop to them in the first round, I'm not sure they're going to draft one in the first round, but in the second round or the third round, if a guy they really like is there, I wouldn't be surprised. Is that going to happen in my mock draft today? Well, let's find out. Back on the NFL mock draft database simulator. 4 rounds. Here we go. At number 25, we're going to go with Byron Murphy, defensive lineman out of Texas. 2023 Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year. Pro Football Focus graded him in 2023 at 91.1. 2022, 82.7. Played most of his snaps at the B gap, but also had some time in the A gap as well. He's a hyper explosive interior defender, quick burst and energy, and he's a insanely twitched up rusher, according to some reports. At pick number 41, going to take offensive lineman Graham Barton out of Duke, 6'5", 314. Pro Football Focus in 2023 graded him at 75.9, 2022 an 88.2. They actually also have a first round grade on Mr. Barton. He does have positional flexibility. He was a tackle at Duke, but projects to an interior offensive lineman in the NFL. And there is nothing wrong with that, getting him at number 41. At pick number 47, and I'm not going to complain if Tyler Newman is still available. Safety out of Minnesota. Maybe not quite as athletic as a few of the other guys, but I think his instincts and his football IQ will serve him well. We will take him at pick number 58. Pick number 88. And these guys keep falling to me. And if they do, I will take them. We will take linebacker Peyton Wilson out of North Carolina State. 6'4", 238. Pro Football Focus graded him in 2023 at an 89.8. And like I said, when I drafted him last week, his highlight film is a lot of fun to watch. We will definitely take him here. At pick 91, I think we can still find value later in the draft for running back. So I am going to go, despite what I just said about the Packers wide receivers, this guy is interesting. Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky. Almost 5'11", 215 pounds. Pro Football Focus gave him an 82.5 grade. Went to Western Kentucky, but he is very interesting. He is a yards after catch king. Just amazing with the ball in his hands. In 2023, 101 catches, almost 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns. Elite explosiveness and angle erasing burst. I think he'd be a lot of fun in this offense. And as I said, I think we could get value a little bit later in the draft at running back. And that's the direction we're going to go with pick number 127 in the fourth round, taking Jalen Wright, running back out of Tennessee. Pro Football Focus gave him a 91 grade in 2023. 136 carries, 1,010 yards, average 7.4 yards per carry. And he is excellent out of the backfield, and he is a very good and willing pass blocker. His skill set is more like Aaron Jones than someone such as AJ Dillon, but I think he'd be a great fit. Take some of the burden off of Aaron Jones, and you wouldn't have to change your offense if Aaron missed some time. So we will go Jalen Wright with our pick in the fourth round, running back out of Tennessee. And that is going to do it. So how'd we do? Byron Murphy, one of the best defensive linemen in the draft in the first round. Graham Barton, number 41 in the second round, possibly starting center or guard. Later in the second round, Tyler Nubin, probably starting safety. Third round, Peyton Wilson could be the guy lining up next to Quay Walker. Also in the third round, Malachi Corley, wide receiver out of Western Kentucky, playmaking, dynamic with the ball in his hands. Speaking of great with the ball in his hands, fourth round, Jalen Wright, running back out of Tennessee, excellent pass protector, which is sometimes a problem with young running backs. Has a similar skill set to Aaron Jones if Jones needs a break or gets dinged up and has to miss time. You don't have to change the offense for him. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to remind you that your thoughts and comments are always appreciated. Feel free to share them in the comment section. And please don't forget to subscribe and connect with me on social media. Have a great week, everybody. And remember, go Pack Go.